Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we have another episode in grid journaling, and I've entitled this one, Oops, I Did It Again. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with grid journaling. I love it because it pushes me out of my comfort zone, and I hate it because it pushes me out of my comfort zone, and it isn't exactly smooth sailing. So I traced out 6 different rectangles, and I am taking my Stabilo all pencil here and I'm just doing some mark making, and even that isn't so random. It's very planned and not free-flowing, and I think one of the main reasons you use the Stabilo all pencil at the beginning is to break that page, to put down some marks and get going on the page so it's not pristine and you're not looking at the plain blank page. So right here, what I've got on my brush is some fluid matte medium, and I am activating the Stabilo all pencil. And the reason I'm activating it is it makes it a bit bolder, but I don't want this to reactivate later when I'm gluing things down and using other wet medium. I don't want it to smudge. So this way I get the benefits of the Stabilo all pencil without the downside of it. So I figured out how to use the Stabilo and still stay in my comfort zone to some degree. So I've got some marks here and some variation in each of the rectangles that I've traced out. So once that is dry, I'm moving on to adding some color, and I want to go purple and gray. That was my thought, doing purples and grays. So I'm applying with my fingers, which is usually my preferred way of putting on paint. But I think with the smaller size, it's just a little harder, and I want something more precise. I don't know what my issue was here, but I come in with a brush. And again, the goal is to do something different in each of the grids, each of the squares or rectangles or whatever shape you're doing. And getting comfortable with mark making. I don't do a lot of mark making, organic mark making. I'll use stencils and those kind of things to get the marks. And which is one of the reasons why I want to do grid journaling, because I'm hoping to get freer with that and start incorporating that into my art. So I grabbed this colored coffee filter, and it's got the dark purple on it. Now it's adding the darker shade of purple. There's some pattern on it, and it is also going to give me some texture. So I'm just ripping this and placing it on, and again the goal is to try to do something different in each section. And then once I'm happy with where it is, I'm just grabbing the fluid matte medium and gluing it down. And as I look back at this, you know, I'm not unhappy with where this is going. Although as I'm doing it, it feels very foreign and unnatural to me. I grabbed some text. Now this was a font that old newspaper font or something that I had downloaded, and I just have it as collage paper. And I'm going to glue that down. I want to add a little bit of script or text patterning in the background. And it's just easier to collage it down than it is to try to stamp in those areas. But if you have a text stamp, you could use that. It just wouldn't give the white as well. And once again, I'm gluing it down with the fluid matte medium. Now this is tissue paper that I have put modeling paste through, a stencil, and I find this is a great way of adding texture without the mess of digging up the modeling paste right now. When you put the fluid matte medium on it, it turns translucent, so you still see what was behind it, but it does impart that texture to the surface. And you do see this at the end. It does come out, and it's nicely texturized, even though it's not really a focal part. It's not really up front. This was one of the items on my use it or lose it list. I have put a lot of different modeling paste through a lot of different stencils, and it's in my stash. Now on that coffee filter there was some turquoise, so I want to add some turquoise, and I want to add some more dark purple, and I'm adding a little bit of gesso here. I'm knocking back the text. Not really sure where I want to go here, and it wasn't my initial intent to use turquoise, but that was kind of guided by the turquoise that was on the coffee filter. So I'm putting it on again with my fingers, and I'm just not, it's not working for me today, so I grabbed the brush. You always have options. Then I want it a little less opaque, so I'm just taking a baby wipe and wiping that back. That's giving a softer color, and it's allowing whatever's underneath to show through. I've also now, since I like that look, that softer look, I've added a little bit of water to my turquoise paint that's off to the side. Doing a little bit of mark making with it, and again trying to do something different in each rectangle. Would you have added the turquoise, or would you have left that out and stayed with the black and purple and gray? I decided I wanted some more contrast, so I grabbed some of my DIY foam stamps, and I'll link that video, and I'm masking off the areas so I can get a stamp on there without going in the between the grids here. And I'm stamping. And I decide, you know, I'm going to use a different stamp on each rectangle. But for some reason, for each of them, I end up stamping twice, and I didn't need to do that. I could have added more variation by how I stamped. I'm just brayering on the black acrylic paint onto it. The whole purpose of grid journaling is to maybe end up with little mini compositions that you might duplicate and do on an art journal page or on a canvas. But also, for me, it's about the lessons learned along the way. So if I was doing this again, I wouldn't do two necessarily. I might do a little bit less of the mark making. And it occurs to me, while if mark making, becoming more comfortable with mark making, I don't need to use the stamps. I could use my black Posca pen and make these similar kind of marks that way, and maybe have more control about where I put them. Something to try for another day. This section here, it doesn't quite work out, and I just come in and I keep stamping, and becomes a bit of a hot mess. But that's okay. You're not going to love every single one of them. If one of the sections turns out as something that you love, or you learn a lesson, then it's a win. I'm quite happy with what's here, and I want to frame each section, and I just trying to do it a quicker way, and I'm grabbing my black Posca pen and I'm just outlining it. This is kind of framing it and allowing me to see it as a composition, and I'm thinking, am I done here? And quite honestly, I could have called it done here. But this is where the, oops, I did it again. I don't know what to do, so I keep doing it. Or it's not exactly what I've done before, so I keep pushing and forcing it. So I'm adding some of the dark purple because I'm thinking, oh, there's too much white space here. And in doing this, I pretty much obliterate the white space. Do you struggle with keeping white space? So I'm wiping some of that back. Again, it's giving me a more of a softer look, which I'm happier with because I'm still getting to see the text underneath, the layers underneath, the marks underneath. But they're looking very similar. I want to lighten it now because I darkened it, and I'm adding in some white, and I grabbed some bubble wrap that I got in a recent shipment from Amazon. And I'm putting white gesso on it here because that's what I had right on my desk. I had some in the palette, and it's not giving me the opacity, the coverage that I want here. So I'm not exactly happy with it. I'm liking the circular shapes, but I want more oomph for this step. And I'm going over it. I'm not happy, so I grab a baby wipe and wipe it off. And because everything is permanent underneath, I can do that. So here's my recommendation. Use white paint, not white gesso. I'm using right out of the tube. This is medium bodied white paint, and it gives more opaque stamping with the bubble wrap. And this makes me happier. But again, one of the I guess rule is that every section you should be doing something different, and I keep my mind is trying to make this into one page as opposed to dealing with each of them separately and coming up with some variations. So I end up with sections that are very similar or too similar, maybe, I don't know. And maybe having more sections would work. Now here I've shaded with my angle brush, and you get more of a diffuse look. So I really like that better. So I'm going to use that angle brush, my black acrylic paint, and shade around each of these sections. Because I am thinking at this point, I'm done. I think I'm happy with what's here. I'm loving the color combo, even though it wasn't my original choice. And then out of the corner of my eye, I see this circle template. So I decide to add another element to this, add a little interest, build a little bit of difference into each one. And I'm tracing out the circle with my Stabilo, and then I'm activating it with black acrylic paint and water with my angle brush, the same way I outlined the rectangles, and bringing out that circle from the background. This is just making it more interesting. And I decide I'm going to use that circle template and do each one with a different combination, different sizes of circles. And then it's kind of a good way of rehearsing it and seeing which ones you like the best. So here I've done a bigger one, kind of in the center. This template, I think it was Fisker's. I will link in the description box. I will find a link from Amazon. I highly recommend it. I have used it for so many purposes. It's just handy. You've got all these circles, all these different sizes. It's a good tool to add to your stash for sure. I like how the circles that I'm doing now plays with the bubble wrap circles that I stamped. Now at the end of the video, I'm going to show a close-up of each of the 6 rectangles. Let me know which one you like the best. Which composition looks best to you? If you were to have to duplicate one of these on a larger art journal page, which one would it be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? There are different things about each one that I like more or less. And so maybe it would be, oh, I want to do this, but I want to use this stamp and I want to use this size circle. So there is the finished one, but I grabbed my short and sweet sentiment pack. These are short phrases from 1 word to 4 words long, and I'm just cutting them and gluing them on. This could be turned into kind of a bookmark or an ATC if it was a little smaller, an iCad, a 4x6. All in all, I like the end product, so I guess the journey was worth it. Be sure to vote for which one is your favorite, 1 through 6. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, like how that text shows up, number 5, or number 6. Be sure to vote in the comment section. Until next time, go get creative.